Many new immigrants to America settled in cities. They often established their own ethnic neighborhoods where immigrants from the same country gathered together and continued to share the traditions, language, and culture of their homeland. Often, new immigrants had very little money, and the neighborhoods in which they could afford to settle reflected this poverty. Housing affordable to immigrants was usually what was known as tenement housing. Tenements were apartment-like buildings, usually built of brick with stone surrounding the windows. Tenements were often very narrow buildings, with only very narrow passageways separating one building from the next. Tenement apartments were not usually made up of more than 2 rooms. In these 2 rooms, the whole family would live and sometimes work. It was very common for families to take in boarders to their tiny apartments in order to help pay the rent. Often, there were 12 people to each apartment. One room generally served as a kitchen and living space, while the other served as a bedroom at night and maybe doubled as a sweatshop during the day. A sweatshop was an in-home factory where families worked together sewing clothes, rolling cigars, making silk flowers, or cutting times. Families were paid by the piece for this type of work, so that is why anybody with able hands, even small children, had to help. Often, there was very little fresh air and light in the tenement building. Only a few rooms had windows to the outside, and there was no way for that air and light to move to the interior apartments. Other rooms opened onto dark, dingy hallways. It was common for several families to share one outhouse. In fact, often more than 20 families used the same outhouse. There was no running water, which meant it was hard for tenants to bathe and wash their clothes. The result of these unsanitary conditions was disease: cholera, typhoid, smallpox, and tuberculosis. Outside the tenement building, peddlers sold their goods in the streets. They sold food alongside piles of manure and garbage lying in the gutters. Children also played in these same streets, since there were no yards. This reading was from the Outagamie County Historical Society, 2004. Music was downloaded from GarageBand.com. Song title is Coming Home by artist Philip Yan.